Welcome back, guys, to another episode of Motivational Monday. I'm your girl Sanshegay, and this week we are continuing our last discussion on interviews, but now we are talking about frequently asked questions in an interview. Now, I chose this specific topic as it was requested by a subscriber. So I thought, what better way than to, answer. Please bear in mind that my answers are personal answers. It's what I think and it's what I use. It's not necessarily that these answers are set in stones or they are the only answers. There are other answers out there and there are other frequently asked questions out there. But these are the ones that I've come across the most and the ones that I've dealt with, hence why I chose to use these. Today's quote of the week says, "I've made my mistakes stupidly, but I wear them proudly because they taught me enormously." It's a personal mantra of mine. I use it every day, every time. Once I get upset, I use it, and so I thought I'd share that little bit with you guys. Now let's get into the meat of the matter. We're talking about frequently asked questions. And one of the first frequently asked questions that I want to talk about is, tell me about yourself. Now yes, I know this one is not the most perfect because a lot of times it's harder for us to tell somebody about ourselves than anything else in the world. But here's a few tricks that you can use. One, you need to understand that when a interviewer asks you to tell me about yourself, in truth and in fact, they're not asking about personal stuff. They're asking about you as an employer. And so you want to answer along that lines. Now, you want to start by telling them or giving them a synopsis of what is on your resume. I'm so and so, and I'm coming from this, and I've worked in this field before. I've worked in this field, and I've gained this experience, and I think it would add to the organization in such a way. That's a good way to start. Now, what you want to be careful when answering this question is, one, you're telling a story, but you're telling a professional story, and I learned this from a YouTuber, and she's saying, pay attention to the fact that you're telling a story, but you're telling a professional story. So you want to tell them about who you are as an employer. Do you have certain employability skills? Are you time oriented? Are you organized? How good are you at handling changes or so forth? You want to talk about these things when you're telling about yourself. Now, here's a personal favorite of mine. When you're talking about yourself, try and tell the interviewer that, listen, I've gained such and such experience, and this is how it will add to this job position or this organization. I find that if you do that, then it gives you a unique position. That's what I want to say. It gives you a unique position. So those are some of the things to bear in mind when you're answering the tell me about yourself. Another thing when answering the tell me about yourself is, I recently learned that you have 180 words in 2 minutes to sell yourself. So in 2 minutes, 180 words. You can use it to answer any question. So you have 2 minutes. That's 180 words to answer the question. And like I said before, you want to include things that are unique to you and that will add to the position that you're applying for. Example, say for instance you are a teacher who is transitioning from being a teacher to a marketer. Now obviously those are two different categories, but they work well if you know how to if you know, what's the word I'm looking for? If you know how to maximize on them. So you are a teacher. How can that impact you being a marketer? Well, for one, you're a teacher, which means that you've been dealing with little people. So you've been dealing with kids for a while, and you can use some of the things that you've learned there to deal with adults. So time management, you may have learned there. Organization skills, you may have learned from being a teacher. Patience, you may have learned from being a teacher. Now, when you're talking about marketing, these are things that could stand out, especially if you're going to be out there in the field. Then, yeah, these are really good traits to have. Another question that is frequently asked is why you chose this area. Now, for me personally, my answer is the same, and it will forever be the same, because in truth and fact, I didn't choose HR chose me. And every time I go out and an interviewer asks me, why did you choose HR? And I said to them, I didn't choose HR chose me. And they're like, what? Right there, and from the very first time I used it, I realized that it was an attention grabber. Now, they want to hear how it is that it chose me, and so I get into the storytelling. Well, for me, the answer again is always the same. When I wanted to switch careers, I did business at so and so, and when I was switching careers and deciding on what area to go, all the areas I wanted were filled, so I had to choose an area that was open. I didn't choose the area, a family member chose it for me, and I am proud to say that I'm glad she chose it, and I like that she chose it, because I find it's one, relatable, and two, I get to make the changes I want to see in society in this area. That has always been my answer for that specific question, and honestly I don't think it's ever going to change, because one, it's the truth, two, it's relatable, and three, it gives you an idea of where I'm coming from. Another thing, or another question I should say, that is frequently asked in an interviewer that we sometimes stuck on or answer incorrectly is questions about our strengths and weakness. What are your strengths? What are your weaknesses? Now, when you're answering this question, you want to be very careful. You don't want to paint a drastic, hard, ugly truth about yourself. If you're not good at time management, honestly, you're just not good at time management. But there's an appropriate way to do it. So, you are not good at time management, but you are good at organizational skills. So, you want to make it clear that, listen, what are your strengths? Well, I find that in terms of organizational skills, I'm able to work better, and I manage my time better when I'm organized. Now, right there, you have made it known that, listen, you're not the greatest in terms of time management. But when you are organized, you help to maximize on that opportunity. That's a good way to answer that question. Now, another question that is asked a lot, and I think I've done this too in previous times, is where do you see yourself in 5 years? And right away, I give them my 15-year or 25-year plan. That cannot work in 5 years. So you want to be realistic. One way to help you be realistic about your 5-year goal is to put it on paper before. Now, I think I have mine on paper somewhere. I'll try and look for it so I can give you an understanding of what it looks like. I think it may be an older version though, so things that I've done already may be on it, but I'll look for it and show you. You want to put it on paper that this is your goal. Now, when you're doing that, here's something interesting that, one, I learned when I was going to Heart, and I went to the Stony Hill Heart Academy, by the way, and it has worked perfectly throughout the years up until now. When you're doing a career plan, as it also helps to answer this question, but it sets you on a path. It sets you on a path. This is what I'm going to achieve, and this is how I'm going to achieve. But when you're putting that plan together, you want to be careful not to oversell it. In other words, don't put a 15-year plan under the 5-year, and don't put a 5-year plan under the 6 months. You want to be very careful not to do those. And if you want me to do an in-depth video about how I set up my 5-year plan, my 15-year plan, and the steps I use to achieve in that plan, let me know. But if you have that plan in place, then it's easier to answer, where do you see yourself in 5 years? Now, if it is that this is your dream company, this is where you want to be in 5 years, then you need to let them know that this is my dream company and this is where I want to be in 5 years. So in 5 years, I'm expected to be in a supervisory position, in the department of marketing, working probably with 10 to 15 individuals. That's a 5-year plan. That's a realistic 5-year plan, to be exact. So you want to pay attention when you're answering that question. Another frequently asked question is, what do you know about the company? Now, I did say in my previous video that you are to research the company way ahead before you even begin to apply. Because again, this one helps you determine if this company is actually the right company for you, and 2, you get to know about the company. Now, when they ask you about, tell me about the company, you want to speak to things that stand out in a way that attracts you. Why do I say this? Say, for instance, again, I'm using myself. I'm an HR or soon to be HR practitioner. I'm not quite, but I'm a soon to be HR practitioner. So if I'm going to look at a company, then I'm going to look at their HR department. Now, when looking at their HR department, I want to know if they've received anything. What are their how would you put it, goals in terms of the HR department. Those will help me to determine whether or not the goals I have to become an HR practitioner aligns with the goals that you are currently pursuing. It also helps me determine whether or not the organization is the right one for me. So again, research. Research about the company, research about the area specific to which you're applying to inside that company, and that will help you to answer. Tell me about the company. Say, for instance, here at Peart's Foundation, we're into charity work, and every year we go into Augustown. We do a charity organization. Every Christmas we do a Christmas treat in Montego Bay. We've been awarded Best Executive of the Year by Business so and so. Then when I ask you about, tell me about the company, those are the things I want you to tell me about my company, right? Because those are what I want to know. How well do you know me? Did you do your research? That's what I want to know. Another question is, basically this question varies depending on the position and who your interviewer is. But they tend to ask if you're in customer service or you're in an area that the traffic is high in terms of direct interaction with customers. They may ask you about confrontation and how you handle confrontation. Now, let me just put this out there. When you are answering this question about confrontation, please me, I beg you, me I drop it English now. Please me, I beg you, when you don't answer a question here, do not go in there and say you're going to tell the people to calm down. Do not do it. Under no circumstances should you go in an interview and when they ask you about confrontation, your first thing is to say, oh, I'm going to tell the customer to calm down. One, it don't work. It does not work. Because if I'm an irritated customer and you come to me and say, Miss, you need to calm down, listen, I'm going to rile up more. So please don't go into that interview and tell them about, I'm going to tell the customer to calm down. No. No, there are certain things that are useful in terms of answering this question, and is you want to know who is your customer. You want to know the types of customers you're dealing with on a daily basis. So you can always again research. Google these things. Read about these things. And also read about handling these things. An example would be, there's a type of customer, I don't remember the exact word, because you have customers like, in marketing we refer to them as loudmouth Betty, egotistic Harold, all these, right? And there's this specific type of customer that thinks that once he walks in, everything should be about him. Now, when you have a customer like that, the first thing you want to do is let him know that, sir, I hear you and we're prepared to deal with you. Step this way, please, so we can handle your questions, queries, comments, whatever it is that you may have. When you do this, you give the customer the the idea or the notion that yes, I'm valued, I'm important, I'm wanted here. So when you do that, one, yes, you are quelling the situation, you're quieting down the situation, but you also give the customer the right approach to let them know that, listen, step aside that we deal with you over here. You get what I'm trying to say, basically. Now you have another set of customers who are very loud, aggressive, and rude. When dealing with those customers, the first thing you want to do is let them know that, Miss, Sir, I'm prepared to deal with all that you have, all the issues that you have. I'm prepared to deal with them, but currently I cannot deal with them under the current behavior. Now here you have set the boundaries that, listen, I'm willing to deal with you, but not under this condition. So when you're answering the questions in terms of confrontation, you want to answer in those specific terms. I've done it before, and pleased to tell you, the interviewer didn't even know that there are types of customers and there are ways to handle each types of customers. So that was a teaching moment for the interviewer at the time, and it was also a moment where I was reiterating what I learned. So it was really good. Another question that is frequently asked in an interview is stress level. Now, if it is that the position that you're applying for is one that is its characteristics is high stress, then they'll ask you about your management of stress level and so forth. Now, each person's way of handling stress or managing stress is different. So you don't want to make you handle stress, or I'm not good at handling stress. No. You want to find ways, even if you don't know them. Go and research, ladies and gentlemen, research these questions, and you can find other questions out there. Research them ahead of time so you know what you're going into, right? Because that's what I did. I used to answer them wrongly until I started researching and watching videos or reading textbooks and so forth, and realized that there are right and wrong ways to answering these questions. So again, research. Find out ways of coping with stress. Maybe in a stressed environment, you're one of those individuals who need to take a step back, take a deep breath, and blow for a few minutes before handling the situation. If that is who you are, then let the interviewer that this is how you handle stress. There's nothing wrong with that. But please, my beginner, do the research. Do your research ahead of time. Okay? Another thing that they may ask is decision making, or how are you in terms of taking initiative. Now, if you're in an environment or the position that you're applying for requires that you step outside of your comfort zone and make a decision on behalf of the organization, they need to know that you are able to make this decision. Now, when you are answering the questions about making decision, one, if the decision isn't necessarily needed at that specific time, ladies and gentlemen, do not make a rush decision or a hasty decision on spot. And you want to tell your interviewer these things. Listen, I'm into weighing the pros and the cons of the situation, seeing which one fits perfectly with the situation, then deciding if this is worth it, how much it will cost the company, and so forth. If you do that, then you get their attention. But you do not want to tell them that, oh, I'll just see, I'll just make it based on. No. You want to let them know that, listen, I understand the seriousness of this, and I'm willing to sit down, do some research, weigh the pros and the cons, see how it's going to benefit the organization, what it will cost the organization, all those things, before making that decision. This will help you, and this will show that, one, you are willing to learn. Right, yes. You're willing to go out there and learn, and you are willing to do the work to ensure that whatever it is that whatever decision that you're about to take is one that is not just beneficial in the moment or for the customer, but for the organization. That sends a drastic standout message. Please tell you, it does. And well, a frequently asked one is, well, I don't see persons asking it anymore, but it used to be a frequently asked question is, why should we hire you? Now, after you answer all of those questions up there's no problem returning to some of them. Why should you hire me as an employer? Well, My experience as a teacher has taught me patience, which I think I'll be able to maximize in this area. My strength in terms of time management and organization will help me do so and so. My experience in here will help me do here. My experience in here will help me do here. My knowledge about this will help me do this. There's no problem in just basically concluding all of the questions that you just answered. It's a perfect way of answering the question, why should we hire you? Now, as a little extra, I am going to give you 3 questions that you can ask in an interview. These 3 questions I ask every day, every interview. It don't matter which organization, I'm going to ask these 3 questions because 1, they give me an understanding of the organization itself, separate and apart from my research. They tell me about the organization. They also help me to determine whether or not this organization is actually the right one for me, right? So the first one is you want to find out about the organization's culture. Is this organization culture a good one? An example is, I like a culture where I'm able to talk to my supervisor. In other words, if there's an issue on the production line and I'm on the production line on a daily basis, I should be able to go to my supervisor and say, listen, I've seen this problem and I think I know a way to solve it. That's the kind of organization personally I want to go into. I'm not trying to take a job as a supervisor, but I'm trying to maximize on all the opportunities, or I'm trying to decrease the challenges we face as a department. So you want to know what type of organization. Is it an open door policy? Is it that management stays behind closed doors, makes all the decisions? When decisions are being made, are employees involved? How great is the involvement? All of that. These are things you want to know about the organization in terms of the organization's culture. Now, another thing that you may want to ask, especially if you personally is thinking about improving improving or developing your career, you want to know what are the chances of employee development inside that organization. If I come into this organization, is there an opportunity for promotions years down the line, months down the line? Yes. If I am in the job for 2-3 years and I decide to upgrade myself from a diploma level to a degree, or a master's level, will I be able to do that? Yes, those are things you want to find out. So just in case that your plan is to upgrade yourself sometime in the future, you want to know, if you stay inside this organization, will I be able to do that? And the last question that you want to know links back to the first part of what I just said, which is you want to know the challenges that the department to which you're applying for faces. Now, are these challenges going to be challenges that you cannot handle as an employee, or challenges that require some level of creativity or innovation to minimize it? Then yes, you want to know. Plus, you want to know whether or not these challenges are going to affect you as an individual or as an employee, and how great is the challenge to you. Will it hinder you from fulfilling your daily task? Will it hinder you from being productive? How does it affect the company's profitability? Those are things that you want to know, because they determine whether or not this area is for you. Again, when you're asking questions, and please remember, I've said it in the previous video, let me say it again. Do not go into that interview and when they ask you, do you have any question for us? No? Even if you did not go in with any questions on paper or in your head, once the conversation have started, you must have picked up on something somewhere along the line to find a question. Maybe the interviewer said something. Maybe they didn't say something. Maybe you want clarifications about something. Oh, please, Don't just sit there like a bag of potato. And when they ask, do you have any questions for us, Miss Peart? No, sir. No. You have any questions for us? Yes, a few. But I'll just use these 3. And you ask your 3 questions. Or, I have a few questions, but I'll just use one. I just wanted to answer this specific one. You get what I'm saying? Don't just go in there and sit down and when they ask you about, oh, you don't have any question. No, that is not the right attitude. And that is not the right thing to do. I want to know if you were listening. Plus, did I miss anything? Let me know. Was everything clear to you? Let me know. That is the purpose. Again, an interview's purpose is a dialogue. It gives the interviewer the opportunity to get to know you, and it gives you the opportunity to get to know the organization, because yes, the interviewer is representing the organization, so you want to be careful about those things. Thank you so much for watching another episode of Motivational Monday. To the person who requested this video, I hope that anything or everything I said, maybe something, I don't know, something outside of this video is helpful to you. If it was not, let me know. I have no problem in going over, doing the video over again, so you can get a clearer understanding or a clear, concise understanding of what it is that I'm trying to get across. So, please, feel free at any point to tell me whether or not me chat stupidness or what I'm saying makes sense and you understand it. Thank you so much for watching another episode of Motivational Monday, and I'll see you next week.